Remember back in the day that campaign about the most interesting guy in the world? Well, today's guest can rival that dude. But before we get into all of that, just like normal, I got a handful of things I want to throw at you. First, you can't see me because I'm not on video, but I have my right elbow wrapped up, and underneath, I got it smeared with some Rishi rub. I've been using this stuff for going on 6 years now, and if you know me well, and if you don't, I demand a lot from my body. I do a lot of physical stuff, and I depend on this stuff to keep my joints and muscles free of aches and pains. If you want to do the same, liverishi.com, use the code word table 50, and it's going to let them know I sent you, and you're looking at 50% off your entire order. Yep. The other thing I do highly recommend, I use a lot, is the 1,000 milligram tincture. You want to relax, get a good night's sleep, put a little of that under your tongue, good to go. liverishi.com, use code word table 50. Showing you some love for showing us some love. And then whatever platform that you are listening to this on, I would love for you to jump on, put up a review, hit some stars, whatever it takes to place a review on the platform of your choice. iTunes would be great. I appreciate that. And if you like what you hear, tell a friend or 7. And of course, my website, waltzkitchentable.com. Everything you need to know about the show is there. And if you want a little sunshine in your inbox once a month, sign up for my newsletter. It's right underneath my smiling mug on the front page. All right, let's get on to this. Welcome to Walt's Kitchen Table, where I feature captivating stories from fascinating people. Holy cow, I can't talk today. Noel is... I can't even explain. Dude, I'm telling you, this guy could definitely be the most interesting man in the world. He is an avid mountain biker, sailplane pilot, coffee roaster, and writer. And I didn't even tell you the good part yet. Well, it's all good stuff. This guy's just, he's witty. He busts my balls, which is amazing. And then he spent years flying and being crew with bombers, and he was a test pilot for a long time. And the story that this guy's got about when he's flying the B-2 when it was being tested, it wasn't operational yet, and all of a sudden everything goes black and all he sees on his computer screen is standby. What the fuck, right? Well, it's a great story, and I'm going to let him tell you all about it. Let's get to it.
You look fat?
There's no, that's P-H-A-T. Right?
That's right. I'm fat.
That's what I say. P-H-A-T all day. Dude, I'm warming up. I've done them forever, but I'm warming up with the dad jokes, dude.
Oh, excellent.
Yes. I love them. God, I love them. My son, he's only 13 months old. He don't get them, but my wife rolls her eyes and is like,
I'm sure she's enjoying that right now. Yeah. Here comes another one. I just have another 20 years of this shit.
Yep. And I'll be like, baby, hey, listen. And she's like, oh. And I'll put out the line. And of course I have to pause for dramatic effect. And she's like, I'm just waiting. Then I'll throw out the line. And every once in a while she'll be like, ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. So
you got to hold on to those moments. You know what I mean?
I know.
Those are the ones that, sweetie, you laughed at one of my jokes back in 2022. So I just want to, you got to bring that up.
Yep. She's like, I've never heard that one before. Oh, damn it. I've said that before.
Yes,
all right, dude. Yeah, exactly. Earlier this morning. Hey, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Thanks for
we've been recording. So now everything you say is going to be on the internet.
Holy cow.
All right.
No place to hide.
Nope. Not anymore. It's not like 200 years ago where you could be an asshole in Iowa and come to New York and nobody knew it.
Everybody will Google this up and say, yeah, Mr. Zermatt, that was a bad life choice. Bad life decision you made.
You might have went the other direction. Dude, when we talked on the phone, I thought that was amazing that Colorado Springs, we had that connection.
Yes, that's true.
How small a world is that, huh?
Well, you know what? Back in the day, that was a small world. Now it's, you know how it is. It's one of the nicest cities to live in the States right now. And and I think people are finally discovering it.
Yeah.
Guys like you and I knew it.
Yeah, when I first moved out there, I was like, "What's it?" I went out there for work, and people are like, "Oh, it's beautiful out there. It's beautiful out there." And of course, at that time, I'm like, Colorado. I'm thinking of mountains and snow and that type of thing. But obviously, I learned that the Front Range. You go over the Front Range, it's what people think. 20 foot of snow.
Yes.
And all that stuff. And Colorado Springs is, would they classify it as a desert mountain country?
Yeah, it's an alpine desert or something like that.
Yeah, because it's what, 6,500 feet?
6,500 feet, yeah. It's actually higher than Denver, the Mile High City. And then you get to Pikes Peak, obviously, 11 something, and then you get to all the 14ers behind there, and it's wonderful.
Yeah,
I like that area because you like colder and snow. You go northwest. You want the desert. You just go past Pueblo a couple hours, and you're in the desert. So there's a lot of stuff to do out there.
Well, you said it correctly. You go past Pueblo.
Yeah. That's another one that's growing. Back in the day, it was oh my goodness,
man. Dude. I physically.
What do you remember Pueblo for? Send your self-addressed stamp envelope to somewhere, Pueblo, Colorado. Remember those ads when we were kids? They were on public TV and all that stuff. And that's all that little town was. And now it's a suburb of Colorado Springs.
Is it really that grown up? Well, I imagine, what is it, Fountain and stuff like that probably stretched out down the highway, right?
Yes, they did.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's two reasons. There's two things I remember about Pueblo. The 30 CDs for $5 or whatever,
that's right.
Columbia, whatever that company was.
That was down envelope to,
Yep. And then I physically got ran out of there by a girl's brother.
Really?
Yeah, him and his buddies.
No,
well, it kind of is, but
good story.
Yeah, good story. Him, her brother and his friends in a pickup truck chased me up because I'm going north. 25, and I was on my motorcycle, and they come rushing after me, and I was like, "Get out of here!"
Yeah, it's funny. I had a sister with a pickup truck in Pueblo.
You did? Wasn't a Dodge? No. Well, hey, man,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I know, right? Did you do any hiking in Colorado? Do you do all that? Did you go up Pikes Peak and all that good stuff?
I drove up Pikes Peak. I wish I could say that I actually hiked all the way up. I knew so many people who were into the 14ers and all that. I really did a lot of mountain biking when I was there. Just absolutely everywhere we could. Did the Continental Divide Trail with a good buddy of mine who's still up there. And that was really what we loved doing. We were there a couple of years where there was a couple of bad droughts. So we had a neighbor that had a boat. He's like, "Hey, let's go water skiing in Pueblo Reservoir." And I remember one time we went in, and I thought we were like doing donuts, because that's all the water that was left. So we were big into a lot of that.
Now, did you get into like what kind of mountain biking? Is it just trail riding, or are you doing like the downhill stuff?
Answer D, all of the above, but mostly trail and what they call all mountain now, which is basically, I used to race mountain bikes back in the day when, I'm not going to tell you when that was, but not too far into the past. But, I just enjoyed the being out there in nature and not having to get on a lift served and all that. The other thing is, back when I was mountain biking, you could do it all with one bike, now you have, it's like a quiver, I need a mountain bike for this and another one for that. So back in the day, I have no idea. Now my mountain bike has 130 millimeters of travel, and that's low for these days, but it's an all mountain trail bike. And back in the day, if it was half of that just on the front, you were lucky. And, skinny little tires, tiny bars, it was horrible bikes compared to now, but it was so much fun, because you were on the cutting edge and you were exploring all these areas that people just couldn't get to if it wasn't on a mountain bike. So it was awesome.
Yep. I got into mountain biking. I did snowboarding out in Colorado, chasing a girl. She liked skiing and snowboarding. I had not a clue how to snowboard, but I was like, yeah, I'll go. And same type of thing. I just totally fell in love with snowboarding. And then in the summer, we saw while we were up there in the mountains, people are like, yeah, we ride our bikes up here. And I'm like,
Yeah.
You do what? And
Oh, yeah.
same thing, man. You spend like $1,000 on a bike and you run that thing this is back then, and you run that thing no matter what. But like you said, it was just so much fun. God, it was so much fun. Now, man, $1,000 probably won't even get you a front tire.
It's a little crazy. I remember, first off, the other interesting thing is that now you find anything online, and it's like, I need to find out the greatest tire. You just Google it. Back in the day, I don't know if you remember, but you had to wait until the magazine came out and had all the pictures of all the stuff, and it was like this holy moment where you went in and said, now I know what I'm going to get. And it was really cool because that was the cycle of the community. I remember, I forget what this was, but it was, probably the 90s or something. It's how to save money in mountain biking. And,
don't do
coffee and mountain biking go together. So one of the things that this ad said, I thought was hilarious. It's like, buy your own little, Mr. Coffee maker or whatever that was. And I don't know why that sticks in my mind, because we were just so simple and happy-go-lucky in the entire community back in the day that, not paying $7 for a latte was our, our greatest concern. And sometimes I ache for those days. It was just a ton of fun.
Were you just like what we were doing? We weren't coffee drinkers. We were more on the caffeine side, and before the drug use, we got into, caffeine pills and all that. But you throw some you threw some, we called them welfare sandwiches in our backpack for the day. You didn't want to put anything on them. So it was just 2 slices of bread with whatever meat that was on sale at the grocery store. And it was all smashed up, but hey, man, you didn't care, that was fun, and
jam sandwich, right? 2 pieces of bread, you jam them together.
That's it. And you throw them in your backpack, and of course you take some tumbles, or your backpack gets thrown in with all the gear and everything gets squished. And so your sandwich looks the size of a Post-it note by the time you eat it. But like you said, you didn't care. You're so damn ravaged, hungry. And you're out there doing it, and
it was fun. That was fun.
And like you said, the anticipation of the magazine, we didn't get too much into the magazines. We were more of, let's go to the bike shop, and you can't go to this bike shop. You got to go to that bike shop. And then that's an hour drive away. And that was part of the adventure. That was part of the anticipation.
Absolutely.
And instead of sitting on your couch and you whip your phone open, go, and hit order. And it's here tomorrow.
All the insight and all the expertise was at those bike shops. What should I use? Yeah. And they would, go back and say, this is the tire you need. And, these are the bar ends. Remember those, and everything was anodized purple. And, oh, man, some days I just miss that. It was a magical time.
Yeah, that was fun. And you still, what are you down in? Well, here's one for you. You're in the Sunshine State, right?
Yes, we are we're living right outside of Tampa. Somewhat outside of Tampa. So it's not a lot of mountains here, but there's a good off-road riding community. So
I imagine that's really popular down there.
Yeah.
Fat bike stuff good down there? You get a lot of...
I thought so long story, which we'll get into, but we were living in Boston, and we had fat bikes and really enjoyed, at least I enjoyed. My wife hates the cold, but I tried to, bought her a fat bike to try to convince her otherwise. Didn't work. I kid. We had a great time. We, fat bikes with studs and all the stuff. We'd go up into Vermont. And then when we moved into the Tampa, we thought that we were going to be able to use them and ride on the beaches and stuff like that. And it turns out that, not that it's frowned upon, it's like nobody really does it. And some beaches forbid it. So we were a little bummed out for a while until we discovered these wonderful areas. We happened to live, less than an hour and a half from some of the best trails in the state of Florida. And a lot of people go, well, dude, best trails in the state of Florida doesn't mean much. But it turns out that in the winter, this is where everybody comes because they're that good. So people come from, we've met people here from as far as Colorado, actually, on the trails out here. When it's freezing up there, they just go, you know what, I'm going to go to Georgia and Alafaya and places like that in Florida. And I was very surprised, super surprised. So it's kind of fun.
That is a little shocking. I wouldn't have thought of that. I would be thinking they were in the Carolinas or something with all the mountains, right?
And so did I. And it turns out that the Carolinas, some of the really cool places, get really wet in the winter, and they actually go, "Hey, don't ruin it." So,
yeah, that would tear it all up.
Yeah.
But on the sunshine, you know what state gets the most amount of sunshine during the year?
It's probably not Florida.
No.
Man, you got me on that one.
Colorado.
Really?
Uh-huh.
As far as cloud cover, like days of sunshine with no cloud cover, I believe that.
I just knew that it was just sunshine, so I don't know the super details about that.
Yeah.
But when did I leave? 2000. Goddamn. 13, I think.
Oh wow, yeah, that's relatively recent. So
yeah, so
you were starting to see a lot of the big growth.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I saw when I landed there, South Nevada, because I stayed at South Nevada the first couple of nights I landed. So by your facial expression, you know what that is.
Yeah.
Remember what that was back in the day?
Yeah. I mean, it's back in the day, South Nevada is not where you wanted to be if you wanted to, wake up with your wallet.
The Chief Motel, is that still there?
Chief. That sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Holy cow.
That was not a safe place to be. Whew. But when I left there, I left in March, February, March. And then the year prior, they had like 306 days of sunshine.
Oof.
So, is that crazy?
I believe that. Oh, no, I completely believe it.
Yeah.
We used to live in a place that had like 306 days of cloud cover. So I know how that, can just completely, it's up by your neck of the woods. It's up in upstate New York. And we lived in the Mohawk Valley up there. And it was, if you go there on a pretty day, it's actually gorgeous. Oneida County and all that, it's green and nice hills and lakes and all that stuff. But every time we flew in there, we used to joke that you could fly in the place because there was like a little Eeyore cloud sitting right on top of it. It's all your instruments could go to. It's like, wait, follow the cloud, duck in, and ta-da, that's home base. And then we moved from there up to North Dakota. Again, long story, but North Dakota is one of these states that the sun shines all the time. Surprisingly, unfortunately, the sun shines when it's like 80 below, but it's shiny.
Yeah, I was going to say they didn't say nothing about the temperature. Same with Colorado. Same with Colorado. It's 22.
Wind or anything.
Yeah, it's 22 degrees, but the sun's out.
That's right. Got your blessings.
Speaking of that, I think it's South Dakota, the Badlands. Is it the Badlands in South Dakota?
Yep, the Badlands. Okay, Southwest South Dakota. Yep.
One of the craziest places I've ever traveled through.
In what way?
On a motorcycle.
Oh my goodness, yeah. That's super Sturgis and all that. Motorcycle culture out there is and there's some beautiful roads.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's through the Badlands and all that. My buddy and I went up through there because his family was in Minnesota, and we took some rides and took the long way home and all that. But it was just like, I'm on another planet. What is this? The way the hills were, they just look fake to me at the time. That's what they looked like at the time. So
it's a beautiful. That was one of Teddy Roosevelt's maybe getting this completely wrong, but it was like one of the favorite places that
Teddy Roosevelt liked to go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and
if I remember correctly, yeah.
We were running out of gas, and there was a gas station, and we were so desperate we didn't even notice that like all the numbers were off the sign. Right, so we pull in and there's no gas.
Oh no!
But we happen to see this little tiny sign with a marker saying gas with an arrow. We're like, what the hell? Right out of a movie, dude. Down a dusty street, trailers on each side, and a little sign kept saying gas, gas, gas. I'm like, dude, what? This is a B-rated slasher movie. This is
Cue the banjos.
Yep. I was like, this is like Candy in the Van kind of thing,
Oh no.
And we get down there, and there's a guy in a pickup truck with this huge tank in the back of his pickup, and he's like, yeah, $3 a gallon. We're like, we'll take it. And I'm like, I wonder what the quality of fuel is, and he's like, you hold it there and I'll pump it. And I'm like, okay. So I'm holding the nozzle. Yep. And he's just cranking. He jumps on the bed of his truck, starts cranking away. And I'm like, this is amazing. God. This is great. This is why I love to travel, to run into shit like this. Man, I ain't told that story in forever. That's a great, oh man, that was great. Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. And now, speaking of traveling, but you traveled because you're in the military.
I did, yes.
All right.
So
and if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're not, get your ass over and subscribe and watch. But you got what we call a love me wall behind you.
It's our yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
It's pretty cool. So my wife and I both flew, and she flew tankers and I flew bombers. And so actually this one is my stuff and that's hers. So it's
very nice.
It's pretty cool.
Is that how you guys met? We
did. We actually met. I was flying bombers in upstate New York at Griffiths Air Force Base. Back in the day. And good buddy of mine goes, "Hey man, my friend is being assigned to the squadron. She's really nice, and I think you should try to meet her." Because we knew each other, and apparently I had fooled him enough, and he thought I was a nice guy. So he's a great guy. So he says, "Yeah, let's connect you guys." And the first time we met actually was in a vault. And for folks who are not in the military, not familiar, you go, "What is that? Is that like a bank vault?" And it kind of is. It's essentially a room that's lined with metal doors and all that stuff, and that's where you go in and do all your classified study. And it's cold and it's metal and it's there's nothing on the walls except the stuff that you need to have, and there's safes and all stuff. It is the most unromantic place ever to meet anybody, and that's where when I met. So interesting.
So you're saying that the environment was not helping your game, so you got pretty good game then if you can snag her up in that environment.
Told her all my stories about mountain biking and she believed me.
Well, that's the most important part. She believed you. I told my wife all my stories the first damn day we met, and she's like, "Dude, you spilled all your guts." And I'm like, that way if you run away now, at least you know about me. So
you'll tell my story to somebody else. So.
Yeah, be like, "I met this crazy dude, man. He just started talking.
Boy, my fucking glad I'm out of there."
So, but the vault though, is that so like you can't like take cameras and cell phones and shit in there?
Yeah. And okay. Again, I'm not old. I'm chronologically enhanced, but that was in the days before iPhones and any of that stuff.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you left all your stuff outside. You go in. Somebody. You have to sign up for all these. In those days, there were big books that were actually kept. I mean, Dr. Strangelove stuff. It's here's the plan for this, and you go in there and you study your mission when you get on alert, and get ready for hopefully the balloon doesn't go up and you never have to do what you train for. So
yeah. I was gonna make a dad joke about what you flew and what your wife flew.
There's a lot of very dad jokes because she's on top, and actually she's the one that her airplane is the one that
Did she fuel your bomber, dude? I'm just saying.
There's actually a story. So I flew B-52s in those days, and then we moved to Grand Forks, North Dakota, which ended up being a really wonderful place, but it had no topography. And was flying B-1s at the time, the swing wing bomber. It's actually, where is it? Holy cow! That one right there.
No, but wait a minute. Let me back you up if I can. You made a point to say it has no topography. I mean, is that a training thing that it was?
The real reason is that they put these bases in North Dakota is historical. They were the furthest bases away from Soviet bombers back in the day. So you had all these bomber and missile bases in the Dakotas and, essentially in the northern Midwestern states.
Are you talking
And,
about like the classic silos in the dirt?
Yep, all that stuff.
Okay.
Like, that stuff is real. It exists to this day. They're scattered over hundreds and hundreds of acres out in the prairie. They're manned 24/7. And in those days, we used to have bombers on alert, and tankers were at the same base. And the reason for that is because you were carrying these extremely heavy payloads, and you could not actually take off and go anywhere because the airplane was so heavy just with a payload that you needed to refuel in the air almost immediately after you took off.
Oh, shit.
Yep. You cannot take off with a full gas load and a full, you can say this, a full weapons load. So,
okay. So you didn't have a tank of fuel, full tank of fuel, and it took so much power to get off the ground. Correct. You burned through it.
You want to be, if you have a full tank of gas, many tanks of gas, and a full weapons load, you are so heavy that you are beyond your takeoff weight. So you would need a runway that's like, 20 miles long to get the speeds necessary for takeoff.
So then, go ahead.
So you take off with a very small fuel load, just enough to get you up into the air, get you to a refueling point, come back if something bad happens, and then go. So the plan is you take off, you have enough gas to get to that air refueling point. The tankers come up, connect with you. They offload all their gas, the majority of it. Then they recover, get some more gas, and take it to somebody else, and off you go. And we did the same thing in Desert Storm again back in the day. So that was a little different because we were on a tiny island, and you had to be able to. It's a little bit more scary because you have to be able to divert or at least hold until weather passes by, and crazy stuff.
Yeah, wow.
All the stuff that don't normally think about this on your airliner because they're not.
Exactly.
All the stuff we did.
Oh, well, I was on an airliner. I got to tell you, oh, geez, man, you're bringing up all sorts of stories I totally forgot about. God, where was it? I was going from Colorado back to upstate New York to visit family. And of course, it's not nonstop going into upstate New York, right? So we flew into, I think, Chicago, and they're like, okay, your plane is on gate 11A, or no, something like 11 and a half or 11A or something. I was like, kind of hillbilly shit. What do you half a gate? So we go over there and they're like, yeah, you're gonna board the plane on the runway.
Yes.
Right. And I was like, okay, whatever. Right. And I'm very warm all the time. I'm like radioactive. I wear shorts year round. I fit right in Colorado, dude. I had a hoodie and shorts, and that was it. And I still do that in New Jersey. So
11 months out of the year, whether I need to or not.
Yeah, no, that's 12. That's 365, dude. Even in the snow, I got shorts on, and I'm shoveling snow. But anyway,
that's awesome.
So I had my jacket, but it was tied up with my backpack. And the lady goes, "You got a jacket?" And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "You might want to put it on." And I go, "Well, it's not too bad of a walk from here to the plane because it's snowing, is in the winter." And she's like, "Yeah, you might want to put it on." So, of course, we go across the tarmac. We go in the back of the plane, and it's a fucking prop plane. It's got 4 engines with propellers, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like looking at it. I go, I think this was like a World War II bomber. They just took the tail gunner out of it and painted it blue and white. Because just the way it looked like an old military.
Oh my goodness, like an Electra or something like that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and then you get in, and the seats look like something. They look like a army cot bent in half and set up.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking.
Seats.
Yeah. And I'm like, how in the world? And she's like, you might want to put your coat on. The heat doesn't work.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, so that all came back when you brought up that plane, dude.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, this guy probably knows exactly what I'm talking about.
It's I've spent some quality time on those troop seats, shuttling back and forth. Thank goodness I never had to jump out of one of those. It's no desire to do that. But yeah, it's another thing that people don't, you don't really think about it, but there's this thing called the lapse rate. So for every 1,000 feet, you go up, the temperature drops 2 degrees. So if you're really high up there, the temperature drops by a lot. So most of the time when you're up and away, the temperature is quite below zero.
Sure.
And if you're in one of these converted military airplanes, there's nothing between you and the jet stream but a little chunk of pressurized aluminum, and doesn't really insulate that well.
Yeah, I was
in the military, it's insane. So of course, the military way to do that is, we'll just get some bleed air off of the engines and just pipe it into the cabin and heat everything up, which works really well if you're around that little spot where the air is coming out. Although it's just very interesting because you're in these cargo airplanes or even on the bombers sometimes, and your left foot is freezing and your right foot is cooking kind of stuff. And it's just, the pleasures of operational flying, but it's kind of
but would you call that the lapse rate?
Lapse rate. And
so is that two? Is that one word or two words? Lapse rate.
Lapse rate. LAPSE rate. It's the rate that temperature lapses down.
Oh, okay, cool.
With altitude.
So 2 degrees every 1,000 feet.
Yeah, and of course I should know this off the top of my head, but as soon as you get on YouTube, I'm going to say something, and the comments are going to be full of people saying, "Beautiful, not exactly the."
Dude, and this is the best part. Somebody's probably screaming at the radio right now.
Right now,
amazing.
Yes. So if you are, please put in the comments below the correct lapse rate, and I apologize in advance for.
Now, does that apply like straight across the board? Like if I went outside right now and I'm at X amount of feet and then I go to the top of, say, Pikes Peak at 14,000 feet, is that the same?
It's in general, it's going to be that, but the variations of that is really what causes weather in a way, right?
Sure.
So if you're Trenton, New Jersey, right? Heat of the summer. The lapse rate on that is probably going to be different than over water or on a lake. So an urban place that has a lot of heat, that heat is actually going to dissipate, and that temperature may be different to the point that you actually have convective currents going up and down. And when we used to fly gliders, I flew gliders. It's kind of interesting. It's a curriculum airplane for the test pilot school that you actually look for that, and that's something that you plan for. And if you're doing a cross-country trip on a glider, which is a thing, you can actually, essentially find spots, and there's predictive analyses there that kind of tell you, hey, it's going to be warmer here, and this place is going to have a different, you expect convective activity or not convective activity because that's thunderstorms, but thermals. And man, I knew a guy who could just sniff these things out like you read about it. And he would routinely take off and go on these long cross-country trips on on mountain ranges, just because he could always find what we call lift. And it's pretty interesting. We go out there, we're talking to each other either on cell phones or little handheld radios, like, anybody seen Bill? No, he's like, he's up at Mammoth, or whatever that is. We're going, man. So, but it's on a day when you find that, it's pretty amazing.
So we could add, for my country boy math, we could just put ish at the end.
Ish, yes, you could put ish.
Perfect. So 2-ish degrees every 1,000 feet.
We'll figure. And actually, you can even go better than that. The higher you go, the colder it gets.
There you go. I think that's cool. But no, I'd like to.
That is enough.
I think that's just a fun little fact to even know what it's called.
Yeah.
Now the thing is, you flew a bomber, and what was the model?
So I flew a few things. So I started off in B-52s, the 8-engined, Cold War monster, which was not my first choice, but ended up being, one of the best experiences of my life.
Like like the Enola Gay bomber kind of thing.
No, it's the bomber in Doctor Strangelove. It's the newer versions of that. And we flew a version that's no longer around in Desert Storm. Still had sensors, upgraded sensors and all that stuff, but a little bit different. From there, I went to the B-1 right after Desert Storm, swing wing bomber, supersonic. By the time we flew it, it still smelled new, which was amazing. Having a military airplane that has a new car smell was really a kick. And you get in there, and the plane, it's just everybody that I know who sees it, says this is the most beautiful airplane. The Air Force owns, and I wouldn't disagree. And
now,
then,
just real quick, you're talking the B1, just so people listening, they might not know. You're talking the one that now that you see that it looks like a triangle.
So I flew that one then later. So that was the B2, and that's the stealth
B2.
bomber. Yeah.
Okay.
So the B1 looks from the top. It looks like a very sleek triangle, and you can see it. It's called a Lancer. The guys and gals who fly it call it the bone for B1. So if you, for your after they watch this video and hit like and subscribe and have the alert button,
my man.
There you go. Go and do a little search on B1 bomber afterburner takeoffs. Trust me, it'll be worth your whatever Google takes of
so
that.
I'm gonna do that. What'd you just say? B1
afterburner takeoff at night, and that is pretty awesome. The B1 is a pretty heavy airplane, but it has 4 essentially fighter engines on it.
Okay.
And it has swing wings, so you can actually take off relatively heavy. That's why it has a swing wing, so you can get a lot of lift when you're pretty slow. You take off, and when you go fast, you peel those wings back.
Okay.
And you can go supersonic. So, we've been in air shows and that thing, and just it's insane because you come in and people, the airplane is moving fast enough that they expect it to be a little airplane. When you see a really big airplane pass by, you go, man, that thing's going really slow. Well, it's going the same speed as anything else. It's just that it's moving, the little airplane is moving many lengths of the little airplane per second or whatever. The big airplane is just like moving one. So like, so this thing is not small, but it's not huge, but as it's moving by, people go, oh, that must be a little airplane. And then they go, no, my goodness, this thing is amazing. So we had a story. I don't know if you ever heard of this thing called Red Flag, but it's this big war game that's out in the Nevada desert. And we used to go there all the time. Every Air Force aircrew has to go there. And you essentially learn how to get shot down. They found out in Vietnam that if you could survive 7 combat sorties, your survivability would be much greater. So the Air Force basically instituted what amounts to institutionalized hazing. So you go to Red Flag and you basically get your ass kicked for 7 to 10 sorties until you get that battle rhythm in. And it is very understandable, before going to Red Flag and after you go to Red Flag, you just, you're different. You have a different level of comfort in the airplane. You know what to do with the airplane, but being in a large package formation with, other fighters, other bombers, surveillance airplanes, and all that stuff is really, it's actually fantastic training. So back to the story, we were, I think the second unit that actually went out, and this particular day, I was a planner. So I stayed back while a couple of my buddies, they had a 3-ship formation going out there or whatever it was. And there was this ground crew of guys with surface-to-air missiles. They're all simulated, and they see this airplane coming their way. And the story is that they were German, so they kind of point their radar at the B1 going, oh, this is going to be an easy one, except that they had never seen an airplane that big go that fast before.
Okay.
So the B1 guys go, you go head up and locked, it's like everybody thinks that you're really smart as an aviator, but the reality is that once you take off, your IQ drops by half, and the faster you go, the lower your IQ. So these guys are going the speed of heat, and they see this thing and they go, screw it, fuck it, I don't know what to do. So they just point the nose at this thing below and just point at the sky, because it's actually, and none of this is crazy, but if your closure is close to supersonic, it's kind of hard to shoot something when it's going that fast towards you, right? It's like if you shoot guns windage, you can shoot something that's going that way, you have a long time to aim, but if it's something that's coming this way, and you have no idea what the range is, it's tough. So the story goes that these guys went so fast, so low, so close to these guys that the guys on the ground thought that this massive thing was actually going to crash into them, and they jumped off. and this thing passes over them at, I don't know, 200 feet, going close to the speed of sound. That's an enormous roar, and they survived. They didn't shoot them down, which was awesome. And we use that technique later. So
hey, cool. Why not, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So you're saying there's a missile on the ground, quote unquote, right? Because it's a simulation.
It's all simulation, yeah.
Right. And what's throwing them off is really how big this thing is compared to the speed that they think that it can go.
For this particular system, the targeting methodology that they were using, because there's a bunch of different ways you can use your radar, IR, but these guys were basically saying, oh, we're going to get this guy and we're going to be really quiet. We're only going to have one radar out of the many that we can use. So these guys don't have enough information, right? Because if I don't know where you are, I can't track your eyeball. I don't know where you're looking.
Sure.
But as soon as they pop off a radar, we'll see it. And that's what alerted the crew. They're like, oh, he's really close. Ding. And they go, wait a second, this does not compute. Something, he should either be a lot closer or a lot slower or a lot, oh my God, let me get the hell out of here. And that was
So what would you say to the normal size airplane if I'm sitting at the gate in Newark and I'm looking at the 747 I'm going to get on? Mm-hmm. What would be the size of that B1 compared to that?
A B1 is about the size of a 737.
737. Okay, cool.
Yep. Maybe a little longer. When the wings are back, it's way narrower.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a little shorter than that, about that size.
Going like hell.
And again, it's, in the comments, I know that there is an active duty B1 pilot or weapon systems officer, and he or she is going to go, that is incorrect. But I encourage you, after you, again, thumbs up and all that, provide me the right information. I am, again, not old, chronologically enhanced, and all those enhancements, I lose my memory. So there you go.
Yeah, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. No, dude, that is an awesome story. Thanks, man. And then how'd you get in? So the B2 is what, like, the thing that we know of now as a bomber, right?
Correct. And that's a stealth bomber. And back in the day, it was in test. So I had.
Oh, that's right. You were a test pilot too.
I was in the test program.
Did you get to fly that thing before it was?
Yeah. So actually, we ended up flying a two-man jet. So we have our pilot, and I'm what they call now they call them combat systems officers. And it's essentially, if you saw Top Gun, I'm Goose. That's probably the best way to explain it. Or if you saw the Flight of the Intruder, I'm Willem Dafoe. I like that one better.
Good movie too.
Oh yeah, that's much more accurate, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Way more accurate than
Top Gun.
Than the first Top Gun. I haven't seen the second one, so I guess it's coming out. And mostly it's because everybody is cranky and salty all the time. So that's a reality.
I was going to say that's portrayed accurately.
Yes, there is only one scene, and we joke, there's only one scene in Top Gun that is accurate out of the entire movie.
Where he sings in the bathroom?
Nope. When the guy is outside and the boss is just going to chew their ass, and Goose goes, "Man, I should have kept that card to the truck driving school. I should have got my CDL instead of this. That would have been a lot less. That's the only true scene, because I guarantee you, whoever says this is not the case is absolutely lying. If you're a military aviator, there is at least one time in your career where you're going to be going, what the hell am I doing with my life? And
what the hell? Why am I here?
Oh yeah, and I can tell you stories about that. So it's so the B2 was I've been in combat in bombers. I've been in the first unit that was flying B2s, and and that went to red flag, and that was kind of some interesting experience. So my boss at the time said, you need to consider applying to the test pilot school. And I said, I have no idea what that is. And he goes, great. You have until tomorrow to learn about it and apply. And I go, great. And then I had to go through a little, internal hazing process in my squadron to see if I was good enough. And again, the story for some more bourbon, and ended up at test pilot school. And unbeknownst to me, but known to everybody else, my assignment was to essentially go and do some of the classified testing on the B2. and that was a lot of fun. Met some amazing people. Really
Imagine.
saw this enormous program from the ground up. Did some crazy stuff. Got into trouble, not because we were bad, but just because stuff in the airplane didn't work because we were in test, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. So did a lot of air shows, crazy stuff. Almost crashed twice. So good times.
That's an expensive airplane to crash, I imagine.
It is, and frankly, a lot of people were terrified that you're going to be the first guy to ride the silk, ride the ejection seat.
Yeah.
So you would do everything you could.
Not to.
We were one memorable time. We were up with a 2 airplanes. We're doing some crazy testing over the desert, and did something that was pretty innocuous. An airplane that was all fly-by-wire, so it's like a Tesla on steroids. There's nothing that you control that is actually touching anything in the airplane. You're basically flying a little computer that is telling the airplane, please, I would like to climb, or I would like to do this. And what happens is that four computers are trying to be the best in class, figuring out what's going on outside, what the pilot is asking, and off you go. And the reason they have 4 is because the possibility that all 4 computers die at the same time is
next to
1 in a gazillion years.
Yep.
And we're in one situation where we thought that had happened. We did something pretty silly, and all of a sudden, it's at night, you can't see anything, you're fully stealthed up, and everything in the cockpit just goes 4 screens on each side go, please stand by, which is not supposed to happen. This is not how it was advertised, damn it. So I look, we kind of look at each other and go, radios don't work, nothing. It was just insane. And it was, let me tell you, I had to extricate an entire ejection seat cushion out of my ass when I got down, because that was
I can
terrifying.
imagine.
Man. And then, just got out of that, little things. One of the guys that I really, really enjoyed working with, he says, you need to be very cognizant of when you're scared, because you're going to make bad decisions. And here's some of the things to look at when you're scared. If you forget everything except your call sign, you were probably scared, and you need to take a deep breath and go, okay, I'm about to make a really bad mistake. And I distinctly remember that, because I was like, I have no idea what our call sign is, anything. And I realized that there was one circuit that was still working, and I just smashed on the button and called the guy who was essentially on the control room on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I had, completely violated radio discipline, all that shit. And I'm just like, his call sign was Willie, and mine is Shamu. And I go, Willie, this is Shamu. And he goes, what the fuck, dude? And it's like, we lost everything. That's impossible. That can't happen. I go, no, God damn it, it's really dead. And at that point, I every time I had the opportunity, I told him, you saved our lives from the ground, because he mobilized everybody, got us, and we were about to limp back and bring the jet back. Crazy times.
Holy Jesus, dude. I got goosebumps just listening to you.
Yeah.
Now I got a question though. What's the movie? Broken Arrow?
The Top Gun of bombers.
Yes. Okay. Oh, wow. I never heard it. I never heard it put that way. That's great.
Yeah.
So I do have, of course, I know about movies and all, all the bullshit that goes along with them. Right. No problem. But I do have one question though. When they were filming with them guys in the cockpit, it seemed like they were sitting in my living room. Like there's all this space and there was nothing much around them.
Oh, yeah, no.
And of course, any picture you ever see of a jet or a fighter pilot, or they're just crammed in there like an IndyCar driver.
Yep.
Is that the same with the B-2?
Yeah. So the bombers are a little bit better, a lot better. I mean, fighters are, I flew F-16s, and that's like, you get that canopy down, and it's like, you're like, holy cow, bad time to realize you have claustrophobia.
Yeah, no, dude, I can't. No.
And there's guys who like
my
go
spine
crazy,
went
They're like, I can't see. After all, I get used to it.
Have guys gone getting all crazy like that when the canopy goes down?
You know it. The pipeline to get you to that point is pretty long. So you're gonna find out. It's up that they're weeding you out. It's that if you self-select out of that,
Yeah.
that's you're gonna know. But on a bomber, on the B2, I could put my hand out straight like this, not long, just like this, and touch the other guy's ejection seat. So we just have a big panel between us, a big, data panel. Now they have a new screen. It's a new thing. And then 4 what we call multifunction displays, like little CRT TVs in front of you that you just do all sorts of stuff with.
Now, what's behind you?
So in the B2 behind you, you actually have, so the hatch is like here, and then behind you, behind the right seater, there's actually another ejection seat way back there that's not pipe plumbed in or anything. I flew test jets, and all the test jets had essentially computer gear. So we carried our own, what they call a data acquisition system, and it's like how Formula One cars have like onboard computers that just suck all the information in, so the guys can come back and say, tires and compression ratios and all that stuff. Test airplanes have essentially the same thing, and they TM it, they send it through telemetry to the ground, but they also keep it in the air. And so we had all these instrumentation systems. They're all orange. So whenever you see a flight test airplane, there's always orange around it, and that's to differentiate them from a regular airplane in general.
Oh, that's so, dude, man, we could talk for like 4 hours about test plane, but that is super interesting. Now, how long did you fly B2s?
So 90, about 3.5 years, that was.
Now, when you were in the test program, were you technically in the military, or was that?
Oh yeah. It's okay.
You're still in Duty. Okay.
Yeah, do all that, and it's just that you take to go to test pilot school, you have to have a technical degree, preferably a master's, significant operational experience. You want to have been an instructor if you can, and these things are kind of you're packing a lot. That's some city miles right there.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say,
once the Air Force puts you on that path, the school is, the school is a ton of money per student.
Did it cost the military to send you?
Correct.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, close to $1 million per student, depending, on what flavor of student it is. And we only have so many that we can put through, because each student, whether they're, and by the way, we send people with all kinds of wings through the program. So everybody knows about test pilots. What some people don't know is that we also have, if you have any other discipline in the airplane, we put those through test pilot school as well. We have a program for military drone test pilots, believe it or not. And we have a big program for engineers. So flight test engineers usually don't have a lot of flight experience, but they have a lot of very appropriate technical experience, and they're military engineers, and they go through the program. All the combat aviators, have been flying for 6 to 8 years, so they know everything. And, the poor engineers come up and they go, dude, you got like 2 flights, and you basically have to get comfortable in about 2 flights with all the stuff that these guys have been doing for
forever,
6 years.
Yeah.
And, as a commander, when I was a commander of the test pilot school years later, it was one of the most, it's kind of a gut check, because you look at these kids, and by the way, you're seeing yourself in their eyes, because you're going, man, I remember being here, and I remember being so excited to be here. And I remember, this is the hardest flying school that the Air Force has, but it's, the most fun. And I would just tell them, guys, this is not, you're going to be flying fighters because it's really cool and I feel sexy and I get to wear my G suit and all that shit. No, dude, you're like, this is your job now.
Yeah, you're in it.
You're in it. And you have like 2 sorties to get your head out of your ass, and then you are sprinting. And you'll be sprinting for the rest of the school year. And and there's this, if he's listening to this podcast, I'm going to send him a link.
Please do.
Can I tell a story?
Oh, 100%. That's what we're here. Yeah.
So there's this guy, and his call sign is Buzzer. And I think Buzzer had applied to the schoolhouse for a couple of times. Well, we may have to delete that part, because I don't want to say his name. So I'll just use the call sign. How about that? Just bleep it out. Guy's name is Buzzer. And Buzzer had applied to Schoolhouse a couple of times. He hadn't gotten in. He finally gets in. So I see him, a couple of days before the start of the semester, and he's looking around, and the building is kind of like an aviation museum. Pictures of aviation heroes, memorabilia. I mean, people walk in there and go, "Holy cow, you guys work here?" We go, "Yep." This is where Chuck Yeager's thing was, and that's where the X-15, blah blah blah. And it's one of the coolest places on earth. So he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" He says, "I'm so excited to be here," and he's just giving me and I give him the old man speech. "You guys are going to be sprinting here in a little while, and that's okay, sir. We are ready." Talked to him about a couple of weeks later after he's had a couple of flights, and he looks like, like he has a 1,000-yard stare. I go, "How's it going, Buzzer?" And he's going, "Wow, I didn't know that this was going to be that much of a fire hose." I go, "That's okay. You're doing great." I see him a couple of weeks later. I go, "How you doing?" He's like, "Well, frankly, I'm pretty tired. I haven't seen my wife. I think my kids hate me, but I'm having a good time in the program." "Great, keep it up." I see him a couple of months later. I go, "How are things going?" "Don't bother me. I have a check ride this afternoon, an airborne exam. I have 2 tests tomorrow, a lab report, and I got to fly an airplane that I've never flown in my life tomorrow for credit. Have a great time." See him a couple of weeks later. "How you doing?" "I hate you. I hate the Air Force. I hate the Schoolhouse. I hate the very ground I walk on. Don't bother me. I will never live through this fucking program." I see him at graduation. "How's it going?" And he says, "Sir, that is the hardest thing I have ever done in my life. And if I could, I would start again tomorrow."
Oh my God, that's amazing.
That is a true freaking story.
All right.
And if Buzzer is watching this, feel free to correct me in the credits, but I think that was about right.
So
now we'll forever remember that.
That's a good way to explain or to describe that program then, huh?
Absolutely. You just go through, "This is great. This is hard. Wow, this is a pain in the ass. I hate everybody. I would do this again in a heartbeat."
Boy, it sounds like some people's story on getting through addiction.
Yeah, actually, yeah. It's yes.
Denial, excitement, denial,
abuse. People. So I think, why is that story compelling? And this is kind of, maybe outside of, but I think it's a human journey. It's kind of a human condition that we go through these peaks and valleys, and sometimes you have to just go quite literally through the gates of hell to really find what makes you who you are. 100%. And once you do that, you go, "Well, shit, that was the most valuable experience of my time, of my life. I'd love to do that again and, kind of learn differently."
And I've done that. So anything else that's get thrown at me, no problem. Bring it.
And that's exactly the takeaway. That when you go through these life experiences, you get out of there and you go, "Shit, I can do anything." And you can port it to something else. The problem is that Mother Nature, life, gives you the test before the lesson, right? So a lot of times you have to have that presence of mind or the luck to understand that, less is happening, baby. You need to,
take the punch in the face and keep going.
Exactly.
Keep going.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah, no, dude, those are some stories, man. And we're probably not even coming close. But the thing is, though, talk about what you've done, right? And where you are now. Now you're down in the Sunshine State with the family, and you wrote a damn book. The hell, dude? It has nothing to do with your experiences.
Go check it out, man. Oops.
You make that very clear on your website that the book has nothing to do with your experiences.
Yeah, it's we try.
Now, is that because people kind of know who you are and they're like, "Oh, is like a memoir and all that," and you had to kind of cut that off at the pass?
There's some stories that my sons, there's a scene in the book. By the way, the story of why the book happened. I'll go super quick. So I retired. I was in the military for not a military, in defense contracting for a while, and had a good time. Started a company doing aviation cybersecurity. You know how you prevent airplanes from getting hacked. And all of a sudden, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, and I was asked to serve in this congressional role in the aftermath of the island's bankruptcy. So essentially, bringing outside investment to the island. Great opportunity. It was a challenging role. I was there for 2 years. I resigned for a number of reasons, and wanted to do other things. And spent about a year going back and forth to Washington doing some other policy work. And in that time, just started to write. And it was a friend of mine tells me that this is the cheapest. It's the cheapest therapy you can have. It's just start putting stuff down on paper. And I would always had this crazy idea that we talked to our kids, and I said, let's just start writing that, and it just went. It was. I was able to just. It was a tough time in everybody's life. It was the beginning of the COVID lockdowns. I just left this position in Puerto Rico. My wife said, "Hey, I want to go back to flying." So she was essentially returning to being an airline pilot. So I was here alone with a dog a bunch of times, and just she's out of that now, and it was just, you had this opportunity to just put stuff down on paper. So to make this thing credible, it's a story about a guy who can see 10 seconds into the future for reasons that we find out. And what happens when he meets somebody who mutes his condition. Basically, he can't see the future around her. And when you think about it, if you could see 10 seconds into the future, you'd be invincible. You could anticipate what people would say, so you could manipulate them. You could avoid injury. You could avoid, you'd never miss, you could, as you're throwing something. So you'd be the most dangerous person on earth. You probably also go insane. It would be like the Truman Show, or Castaway all in one, everything, there'd be no surprises in your life. So this guy's losing it and, meets a girl who makes him normal. So to make that visceral, angst that this guy is living through, that's where you just reach into the Samsonite and go, oh man, I remember this, I remember that. And you just let it go and start writing about it. And it's interesting. Credibility on some of this other stuff that I did in my career. So I guess people like it. So,
dude, now how the hell did you come up with that concept?
That's a great
amazing
story.
It's amazing. It's amazing, by the way. I love it.
Yeah, it's just had it's not sure how much we say, but it's just the other day I had somebody said, "Hey, we'd like to talk about this," and they had the same reaction, and I thought that's very generous. I hadn't thought about it that way. I just thought, what would be the most disruptive ability that you could have. By the way, I don't want it to be like super strength or I can fly or any of that stuff, because I want it to be something that could be potentially feasible. So your phone could tell you what the weather is going to be a day from now. Your phone could tell you with almost exquisite accuracy what the weather is going to be an hour from now. Why is that? Well, it turns out that there's a lot of information that they're processing, kind of behind the scenes.
Right.
Well, there's a lot of books that basically say that you rely on all these things that you don't even think about. Do you go to a gym outside of your house?
Oh yeah.
How do you get there?
Drive my car.
And describe, if you could, the exact gory details of driving your car, when you apply the brake, and what turns you take. And the thing is, you probably couldn't, but if you did it, you can obviously do it. Right. So there's something in you, and we know what it is because it's well documented, that you can do all these things essentially by autopilot. But if you have to actually explain it, you're like, I don't know what road I take. I just know I kind of.
Oh yeah, the classic one I have is, I know how to get to my buddy's house. But dude, don't ask me for directions.
Fuck if I can explain it to you, man. Yeah. So that's actually the gist of this, that this guy can sort of, he has all this, something happened to him, and we find out what it is. And instead of being able to, smell the color pink, or be able to hear synesthesia. His synesthesia is that he can process all these things and go, I can see what's going to happen. You can't see all of the future. You can just see a little bit, right? Because that's all the information around you is just enough to predict it just a little bit. Yeah. But just a little bit would be enough to be
drive you
both
fucking
deadly
insane.
and drive you insane.
Dude, it's driving me insane just trying to think about it.
Writing it was hard.
Yeah, what a great concept, dude. That's really cool.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I like it.
And I can see the relief that if, like, I don't know how it happens, but, he's walking. I've seen enough movies, right? So he's walking, and for some reason he can't see the girl that's about to bump into him because she mutes his power, right? So she bumps into him, and they have like a moment, and then he's got to find, and she disappears. And I just had a little thing flying around in my head about the concept of that, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's, without giving too much, the first time he sees it is at a conference, because he is, what he does, he's not the nicest guy when we meet him. And he decides, man, I need to just do something. And he goes to this conference about a topic he's interested in, and this girl happens to be a college professor. And it's like, remember the Wizard of Oz when everything went from black and white to color? And
same
that's kind
thing,
of how
right?
he describes. Yeah. So he's like,
that we probably don't like him because he's cynical, because he's such a bad mood because this thing's driving him crazy.
Oh yeah.
Right. That's kind of.
But he's redeemable, right? And
yeah. Well,
that's what happens.
That makes a good character.
And that's what. Yeah. That's so, that torturous path.
Did you self-publish?
I did.
Oh, congratulations, man.
And it is it's been an interesting journey.
You're gonna do Audible?
I am. I'm actually trying to. I had to take a little pause here just because some stuff that went on, but just family stuff that takes your attention, and you have to prioritize it. So, but yeah, I'm talking to a couple of companies and getting feedback on essentially doing auditions for who the best voices would be. It's really cool.
You don't want to read it?
I have a voice made for sculpture. You know how some people have a face made for radio? My voice is
made for sculpture. I've never heard that one. I like that.
It's so, but there's some really talented people out there.
Oh, dude. My phrase is there's life before and after Audible. If you've never discovered Audible before.
Oh yeah.
And you get into Audible, and I drive a lot, so Audible is my thing.
Yes.
And
that's funny. Something funny about that. There's some people who used to say, books on Audible, or that's not real writing and all stuff. And the best response I got to that, I read it somewhere, and I forget who it was. I said, well, what are books? They're stories, right? And how did we used to tell stories? We used to
tell them. Exactly. Well, that's
we used to sit around the campfire. And I think I think there's something very, so you got a kid, by the way, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm going to tell you, man, this podcast is going to go all over the place, because I'm going to give you parental recommendation.
Oh, here we go. Man, I didn't get enough of that.
No. Two things.
Okay.
The greatest gift a father can give his children is to love mother, and that'll carry the, it's amazing stuff. And that is, firmly believe that. But another gift is reading to your kids, constantly reading to the kids. Every day. My wife figured that out way early, and it's amazing. It's amazing when you see the difference.
Yeah. So there's some things that we've done that I believe has helped him greatly in his development. My wife loves reading him books. I get in there. Yeah, I get in there once in a while, but him and I start fucking around, and it's more playtime for us. And then we put him in daycare super, super early. And I believe that helped his development. And then the company is called Little Gym.
Mhm.
And what that, if people don't know what that is it's a company that rents space and then they fill it with, I want to call it like gymnastic pads and, gym pads and all that. And they just let you come in and run around, and they do some teaching things and they show some things. But having him watch, because he wasn't walking when we were taking him to the little gym, he was just crawling, and he would just stare at these other kids that were running around. And it's like, I honestly believe that had something to do with his development and the way
I think
he's walking around.
That sense of back in the day, we didn't have daycare because the kids were exposed to those big community groups as just, part of the clan.
Yep.
With our society where, we have to do all sorts of stuff, you have to have that. We're social animals. And
I just had that conversation today.
Yeah, and I've gone back and forth. For a while they were like, oh, daycare, and then it's like I've seen, the socialization aspects of that. It's just balance. It's
Mm-hmm.
I think putting your kid in daycare and forgetting about him, and only having night, and that's probably not the best option.
Right.
But as part of a well balanced, and by the way, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but I'm just a dad who, with two grown young men who are productive, educated, gentlemen who have nice significant others, and they did well. So I would imagine.
Congratulations.
Thanks. This is my job here is done. I'm tapping out. So, but that balance of being able to have a very, there's nothing like a kid knowing that he can go home and everything is safe there, and that's that. And then the adventure of I'm going to go see my buddies, and
Yep.
That balance, I think, is what a well formed, well rounded kid would benefit from. So,
yeah.
But what the hell do I know?
We talk about that too, like the way our schedule works, because I leave real early in the morning. My wife takes him to school. I call it school, dude. It's just my wife takes him to school, and then I pick him up. And the way he acts when I pick him up, it's just that, like you were just talking about, that separation, right? Here I'm hanging out with my buddies all day because they send us pictures, right? Oh, yeah. And he's got a couple buddies that the three of them are always in the same picture. They're always just tagging along, And then we have the evenings and the weekends with him, and he's just, he's happy to see me when I pick him up, and like you said, that balance, right?
Yeah.
And it works for us, and we're happy with him, and they take good care of him at the school, and he's eating like a monster. So,
my wife, got promoted from airline pilot to science teacher now, which is her passion. And she has she works at this little school that actually has a bunch of different grades because they do some pretty interesting and specialized programs. The upshot of it is that she has some kids that are younger, and so she has to. It's a little challenging because she has to teach younger kids in the sort of open platform thing, and then kids their age range maybe 6 years.
Ooh.
And it's interesting because that social interaction with the kids is actually a really interesting facet and a very important tool for their development.
100%.
And they, done correctly, the kids, I think, learn better. They have better outcomes. They can augment and improve what the love they get at home. So it's really kind of an interesting thing. So that's topic for experts there.
Yeah, and I remember, I gave you shit about advice, because when we were pregnant, everybody's like, I'm not the type of person that gives advice, and 30 minutes later, they're still giving me advice.
Yeah.
And so we go to see our pediatrician for the first time, and Logan's my son, and
cool. Like Wolverine.
That's it. And he was he was what, Friday, Saturday? He was like 3 days old, and we go to the pediatrician. He goes, and I love this guy. My wife found him. I never met him till that day. And as soon as he walked in, I'm like, I like this guy. And third generation pediatrician, old school, but he's kind of up with the times and all that, He goes, hey, nice to meet you guys. And and he goes, so I have some advice for you. And I was like, oh,
Here we go again.
And he's like, and he laughs. He goes, I love saying that because, I always get that. And he goes, you've been getting a lot of advice, huh? I go, yeah. He goes, well, I have 3 things for you. I said, okay, hey man, you're the doctor. Let me hear what you got. He goes, never wake a sleeping baby. Copy. Check. Number 2, never wake a sleeping baby. All right. Check. Copy. And I'm looking at him. He's looking at me, and I go, never wake a sleeping baby. He's like, okay, so now we can. He goes, now we can talk about everything else. And I was like, oh, it's amazing.
That is great.
Yeah, because we're watching. Of course, we're first-time parents, right? And I'm staring at him all night, seeing if he's breathing. Doing the classic stuff. And he's in weird positions. And my wife, she's got a big heart. She's want to make sure everything. She's like, oh, I wonder if he's comfortable and this, that, and learning curve for both of us. And the doctor was like, if he's uncomfortable, he'll tell you. If he's hungry, he'll tell you. Just stay out of his way. Make sure he's fed and loved and warm, obvious things, right? He goes, other than that, stay out of his way. And we're like, okay. And then the other thing he said, which we really thought was cool, he said, don't make your life around him, bring him into your life.
Very wise.
Yep. I was like, it didn't make a damn bit of sense when he told me. But as we started to raise Logan, I was like, I totally get that.
Yep.
He's like, listen to the same music you're listening to, eat the same foods, bring him into you. Don't change your life for him. And I was like,
that is I love that. That is really, I mean, well stated. And coming from a pediatrician who is, probably looking at the totality of Logan's life, in the context of everybody, he's seen this before. So that's really good.
100%. And then he goes, if he's crying and he won't stop crying, obviously make sure he's fed, make sure you're loving him, make sure he's dry, diaper change, all that kind of stuff. And if take his temperature, last thing is take his temperature. If it's under 100 degrees, don't call me. I was like, all right. I love that. He goes, if it goes over 100 degrees, you might want to check in with us. And he goes, you just gotta, you gotta handle him. He's going to cry. And that's his only source of communication is to cry. Yes. He can't be like, my ear hurts or my foot hurts. He just cries, and so we learned a lot, and it's been a great journey. And when you're in it, it feels like it's going to be forever. When you're in a bad spot, he's crying and you're trying to soothe him. But now we look back and it's not even a blip on my radar anymore, Yeah.
This is, you probably don't want to hear this, and does not qualify as advice, but there's a time, there's an age at which everybody remembers their kids. I don't know why it is, but it's like, if you close your eyes and you go, what's that age? And for us, it's like 8. Don't.
Oh, okay. No, that makes sense though. I can see where that would,
and let me tell you, man, there are times when we go back. I remember that time. Yeah, that was like last weekend. No, that was 15 years ago. And we're like, what? And it just, at the time, it's like what you're saying. You're just going, oh my goodness.
Yeah, we do that now. We're like, remember when you used to fit in this? That was 6 months ago. Fuck. Oh, God, geez, okay.
Yeah, but, just imagine when, it's not 6 months ago. It's 6 years ago now. Or when you get to, well, that was 16 years ago.
Oh,
and you're going to go.
I can't wait. And I told my wife, because she's a little, she's not short by any means, but she's shorter than me. And I go, I can't wait for Logan to be standing next to you and you looking up at him going, now you listen here.
And he will.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. And so the people out there listening, obviously you don't need my advice, but my 3 pieces of advice that I would give, never wake a sleeping baby. I'm not going to say that twice. Change their diaper before you feed them. Because once you change their diaper, they're going to be a little more crabby when you're doing it. But now they got a clean diaper. You feed them, they fall asleep. Now you don't have to wake them up to change a diaper. So, and then Brilliant. The other one is what the pediatrician told us was bring them into your life. Don't adjust your life to them.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's what I tell people if they want to hear it. But
as a dad who's been, past, on the 18 plus year, I fully endorse those recommendations.
All right, buddy. You know what though? I got to shut you the hell up, man. We've been on this. Yeah, I know it. It's all good. I could talk to you for another 6 hours. You know that. So
when the second book comes out. How about that?
Well, perfect. I was going to say the open invitation I would love to have you back on. I normally don't do this when we're recording, but I got to have you back on, dude. So,
some stories, man.
Yeah, but we're gonna close it up. But I want to give you I want to pass you over the flashlight for a few minutes. Just talk about what you want to talk about, where people can find you. Obviously, everything's going to be in the show notes, links, and all that good stuff. And I'll tag you, obviously, on all social media. And then, but yeah, spit it out, man. Let's hear what you got.
Listen, first off, thanks for the opportunity to be here. And I hope your listeners and viewers enjoyed this wide-ranging conversation. We talked airplanes and kids. We didn't talk about space or,
God,
almost arrested, but we'll get to that at some point.
Right,
the book is out. It's on Amazon and other places.
What's the title?
Check it out on the links. The Archer's Thread.
Okay.
So, but yeah, listen, this is all about your viewers and your listeners, and I really appreciate the time. This was a really fun conversation.
Same here, man. Same here. All right, dude. We're going to get out of here.
Enjoy.
Hold tight. All right, man. Thanks again, bud. Tip. All right, right? Oh my God, this guy could totally be the most interesting man. And we didn't even come close to the stuff that he wants to talk about floating around in his dome there. But I got two questions for you. One, how many times did you go, fuck that? Huh? Well, I did a couple times, as you heard. And then with his book, that is just such a great concept, like superpower, I guess. I don't know, because me, personally, it would drive me fucking crazy to see 10 seconds into the future. Both of us would love to hear your opinion on that, and check out his book. All the links are in the show notes, and you know how to get a hold of me, because I'm going to get you out of here because I know you got shit to do. Don't forget, liverishi.com. Use the code word table50. Get 50% off your entire order. Show some love on whatever platform that you're listening to this on. And, if you like what you hear, tell a friend or seven. And my website, waltzkitchentable.com. Anything you need to know about the show. Remember, when I say have a great day, the motherfucker is silent. Till next time.